afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador's COVID-19 update for today, Wednesday, May 19th. Well, we hit another major milestone today. Today, I'm told, by the end of the close of business today, we'll have half the eligible population of Newfoundland and Labrador vaccinated with COVID-19 vaccines. That's more than 241,000 people. That's a great accomplishment. So let's keep all that up. With that said, I'll turn things now over to Dr. Fitzgerald for an update on today's numbers. Dr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Premier. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. Since the media advisory yesterday, we have 3 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 in our province. 2 are in Eastern Health, 1 between the ages of 20 and 39, that's travel-related, and 1 between 50 and 59 that is currently under investigation. We also have 1 case in Western Health. The individual is over 70 and is a contact of a previous case. The total number of cases in our province is 1,202, and there have been 8 new recoveries, and leaving us with 78 active cases in the province. 1 person is in hospital due to COVID-19, and a total of 140,245 people have been tested to date. We continue to see the majority of cases are travelers with limited spread to contacts. At this point, we are treating all new cases as variants of concern. Last week, Western Health conducted increased testing in the Cod-Dry Valley, Port aux Basques region and have not identified any evidence of widespread community transmission in this area. After consultation with local public health, I am lifting the special measures orders applying to these communities, and the region will return to Alert Level 2, effective Thursday, May 20th at 12:01 a.m. We expect that the trend of importation will continue in the weeks ahead, as several provinces are still grappling with community spread. There are certainly signs of improvement across the country, with daily case counts declining in almost all jurisdictions. Nationally, there was a 22% decrease in cases from the previous week, and in the Atlantic region, there was a decrease of 28%. So while we have every reason to be optimistic that we are turning a corner, we need to remember that we are not out of the woods yet. I caution residents not to let their guard down. May 24th weekend is approaching, along with the promise of warmer weather. And this is a great time to get outdoors. Many people in our province will be heading to their cabins or camping. However you choose to spend your long weekend, please remember that all public health restrictions and recommendations are still in place. So this includes the requirements to wear a mask in indoor public spaces, keeping your non-essential contacts to your steady 20, and maintaining 6 feet distance from those who are not your close contacts. And while outdoor gatherings are safer than indoors, the special measures orders remain in place, setting the legal maximum for informal gatherings at 20. Law enforcement does have the authority to charge anyone in violation of special measures orders. I strongly encourage parents and guardians to pay close attention to any plans their teenagers have for the weekend ahead, not only to ensure it is legally permitted, but because it is the right thing to do. I also encourage you as parents to look at your own plans as well and make sure that you're setting a good example. We need only to look back at 3 short months ago to remember the last outbreak we had and the role that informal gatherings played in fueling the spread of that outbreak. Each day, the light at the end of the tunnel gets brighter, and we need everyone to hold on a bit longer. It would be incredibly unfortunate for us to experience another outbreak. We have come too far to let pandemic fatigue set in now. We will ease restrictions when we determine it is safe to do so, and Alert Level 1 is in sight. There are a number of factors that we need to take into consideration, however, and these include the national epidemiology across the country, the proportion of our population with a first and second dose of vaccine, and the real-world evidence on vaccines in terms of both transmission and preventing severe illness. To date, over 237,000 individuals in our province have received at least 1 dose of COVID vaccine. We expect that we will reach 50% of our eligible population vaccinated with at least 1 dose by the end of today. More than 36,000 doses have been administered in the last week alone. This is just incredible work being done by public health teams in the regional health authorities. Anyone over the age of 12 can now book their vaccine, or that should be 12 or over, can book their vaccine. By the end of June, every eligible person in our province will have had the chance to receive their first dose. Everyone who can receive the vaccine should receive the vaccine. Making the choice to be vaccinated not only protects you from severe illness, it protects those around you, and it protects your community. The more people who are immunized, the better protected we will all be from COVID-19. This is our best chance to return to life closer to what we knew before COVID, to attend family events, travel, and see our friends and family again. Yesterday, we released an update of our vaccination status by group, and the uptake across all groups 65 and older was excellent at 86% and is steadily climbing in the other age groups. This is incredibly encouraging, and I look forward to seeing similar uptakes in the younger age groups as we move through those immunizations. As a recap, we have 3 new cases since yesterday's media advisory, and the total number of cases in the province is 1,212. I hope that everyone has a safe and enjoyable May 24th weekend. The Victoria Day holiday marks the first of several long weekends throughout the summer, and if we work together to keep our risk low and sustain this momentum, we can all look forward to better holidays ahead. So hold fast, Newfoundland and Labrador. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Fitzgerald. It is indeed great to hear about ever-increasing numbers of people in Newfoundland and Labrador who are getting vaccinated. Half our population, simply incredible if you kind of reflect on where we were back in December and beyond, and today is a great day. It's great for a number of reasons. It allows us to continue working on reopening plans, which you'll be hearing more about in the coming days and weeks. Earlier this week, vaccine appointments opened to everyone over the age of 12. You can really get a sense of relief in the population and the people that I've talked to throughout the province over the last few days. I've met some of you myself and talked about the vaccine and the smiles from ear to ear about people who've received the vaccine as they have hope towards moving towards a normal sense of life. You've all done your part. It's so important to do so. Get vaccinated. Please keep it up, and we will get there. Yes, we have some active cases, but Dr. Fitzgerald and her team continue to ensure us that they're contained, and testing continues with a view to preventing any possible community spread, as Dr. Fitzgerald has mentioned, in particular in the Codroy Valley and the West Coast. As we head into May 24th weekend, we're hearing many concerns about field parties, which would, of course, break the COVID-19 guidelines, and none of us wants to see that. We are so close. We don't want to have another shutdown because of another outbreak. So please continue to do your part. Please continue to follow the guidelines by Dr. Fitzgerald and her team and get vaccinated when you can. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Haggie for some remarks.
Thank you very much, Premier. It is good to see a hint of our case numbers lowering. This, we feel, reflects the situation across Canada more broadly. The Canadian case rate has gone from 135 per 100,000 down to 106 in a week. Our numbers have tended to be driven by 2 particular jurisdictions, Alberta and Ontario, and they have made strides in reducing their numbers. Alberta's gone from 308 per 100,000 down to 212, and Ontario from 145 down to 113. Those are encouraging signs and maybe a portent of things to come for us as our numbers tend to closely follow theirs. As the Premier has referenced, we are doing extremely well with vaccinations. 49% or slightly over, in actual fact, were administered yesterday. Sorry, that's the number of people who have been vaccinated with at least 1 dose, is just over 49% as of yesterday's close of business. We are on track for our end of June Canada Day offering of everyone who's eligible who wants a vaccine to have had their first one. And I was talking to staff today about timing for second doses for those people who were vaccinated much earlier in the year. The Premier has referenced an opening plan, and that in part is related to our vaccine successes, as well as what's happening in other jurisdictions around the world and in Canada. May 24th is coming, and this time last year it was a very different May 24 weekend. Our holidays, by and large, have been successful in that people have listened to Dr. Fitzgerald's advice, and as we've all pointed out, it would be a shame if that were not the case again this time round. There is certainly some enforcement possibilities if encouragement fails, shall we say. From my point of view, I think I'd just like to close by acknowledging the fact it's World Family Doctor Day today, just to say hi to all of you and a thanks for all your hard work throughout the year and during the pandemic. So with that, Premier, I'll turn it back to yourself.
Well, thank you, Minister. I'll now invite questions from the media.
Thank you, Premier. For the benefit of our speakers, there are 6 reporters registered for today's call. The first round of the question and answer session will give each reporter the opportunity to ask 1 question and 1 follow-up. Following this, there will be a final round where each reporter will have the opportunity to ask 1 final question. Our first questions are from Elizabeth Whitten with All Newfoundland Labrador. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Nova Scotia's chief medical officer said this week that its province will need 85% of eligible people vaccinated before it will fully reopen, whereas the federal guidance is 75%. So, Minister and Premier, you both alluded to opening plans coming soon. So what is the standard this government is going to use for full reopening, and how did you come to decide on that percentage?
Sorry, certainly we're going to continue to follow the public health guidance and advice and work with Dr. Fitzgerald and her team always. I'm not sure of the Nova Scotia situation and why they made that decision. Certainly Dr. Tam has suggested 75 with 20% as a guideline to move towards. So we're looking at the modeling and looking at frankly the burden of the disease and the burden of the virology here in the province as well, and the epidemiology of what's going on here in adjacent jurisdictions. So I can't speak for the Premier of Nova Scotia, nor would I want to, but Minister, I'm not sure if you have any further comments.
Thank you, Premier. I mean, from our point of view at the Health Minister's table, we've talked about a tiered response. 75 and 10% was suggested at one stage for some form of opening, with 75 and 20 as a more widespread option for Canada in general, certainly. But again, vaccination status will also play a part of this too, and quite how that will roll into it. There's a lot of work being done at the federal level. Certainly they have indicated that on an international basis, they also have a tiered response for people who are fully partially vaccinated or not vaccinated at all. And I would do no more really than reiterate what the Premier has said, is that NACI has provided the bedrock for our guidelines so far, and we would use those to shape our discussions over the next few weeks.
Right on. So if I understand this correctly, you mean you're going to go with the 75% federal guidance at this moment, and given that we're about to reach the milestone of 50% this evening, looking at our current pace, like how soon could we reach 75%?
Well, we anticipate to reach 75% on target, and so that should be a very different looking summer. As to the first part of your question, we haven't made any formal decisions yet. We're still working through the science, the epidemiology, and the rates of vaccination will, as the Minister suggested, certainly weigh into that decision making. Dr. Fitzgerald suggested in her opening statements how the virus is behaving throughout the rest of the country is also obviously an incredibly important variable that we will be considering in the reopening plans as we move forward.
Right, but not to take up more time, but to answer my second question, I'm curious, do you have a timeline to reach that threshold?
Go ahead, Minister.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the numbers of vaccines delivered per day, we run between 4,500 and 5,000, and the reason for that is simply that is the pace at which vaccine arrives here. That equates to about 1% per working day. So if you're looking for 25% more than you've got now, then that's just over 3 weeks.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Our next questions are from Kellyanne Roberts with NTV. Please go ahead.
Thank you. The Premier's Advisory Council gave their final report when it comes to tourism, and they are looking to have the province open by July 1st with testing available for travelers coming in with no quarantine. From the panel's perspective, is this possible?
I certainly thank the tourism group for providing their report, and there's certainly still a lot of things that we're digesting, but we said from the outset that we would make balanced recommendations based from guidance with public health and ensuring that we're not jeopardizing the future economy or the future tourism industry by acting too quickly. That said, as we've said on this panel many times, this summer will look very differently. As to what it will look like, we're still trying to sort that out over the next few days to weeks.
Okay, so standing like we're not quite sure on it just yet as we digest more of the information, but I'm going to move to concerns about AstraZeneca and second doses. Dr. Theresa Tam says that the choices will likely be for people to choose when it gets to their chance for a second dose. Is that what the province is also looking to do when it comes for Pfizer and Moderna to open the second doses for those with AstraZeneca?
So as we discussed yesterday, Kelly, on the call we had, we will be looking at what the evidence comes out from this study that's being done in the UK, and once that comes out, we'll have more information about what the options will be for people after their second dose of AstraZeneca.
Thanks.
Our next questions are from Peter Cowan with CBC. Please go ahead.
Looking at the number of people who've been vaccinated so far, in the over 80 age group, they were the first to be able to be eligible, but yet their vaccination rate is about 10% lower than the 75 to 79-year-old group. Is that a concern, and is anything being done to address any barriers that may exist in order to get those vaccination rates even higher?
So, there are many reasons why that may be happening, and we certainly will be delving into those, into looking at that at this, as time goes on, and certainly that is all a part of making sure that your vaccine program is progressing as it should, but, sometimes it has to do with people, being concerned about having a vaccine. Sometimes there are concerns from family members. So there are different things that you have to work through, in obtaining consent for vaccination. So there may be some of that at play as well. But we'll certainly be looking at that. And the other thing is, as people may have mobility issues, and our RHAs are steadily working through those people who may need home visits to get their vaccination as well.
Thank you. And Dr. Fitzgerald, the Premier has said the reason the questions have been cut at the briefing is out of respect for your time. Considering this briefing happens just once a week and we are still in a public health emergency, why do you not have the time to answer 2 more questions for reporters, which would work out to about 12 or 15 minutes or so?
So, Peter, I don't even know really how to answer that question. I don't have a problem answering questions from anyone. As yesterday I made time for you to answer questions. So.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Our next questions are from Richard Duggan with VOCM. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Minister Haggie, you referenced in your opening remarks about conversations about getting plans in place for those who were vaccinated much earlier to get their second doses. I was wondering if you could expand on those discussions. What exactly is the plan that we're looking at?
The issue of timing was discussed actually by Dr. Fitzgerald yesterday in a media availability about, particularly in relation to AstraZeneca. In terms of the logistics, at some point, once everybody has been fully vaccinated, if the Moderna doses that we have been perpetually promised but have never quite arrived do actually arrive, then there is a significant ability, or would be, to actually bring forward some of those second dose appointments from, say, August and September and actually run them in parallel in July. So we're looking at a scenario whereby we get a sudden increase in vaccine supply. Pfizer, once they got their supply chain sorted out, you can set your watch by their deliveries, and they are predictable, and they give us the numbers in time for us to schedule clinics. Moderna, I'm afraid, is a mess. And continues to be a source of frustration. But we're planning in the hope that they will one day deliver.
Thank you. And we're hearing of some graduation parties being planned for school students, kids getting together outside, no masks, maybe having a DJ in attendance, etc. Dr. Fitzgerald, how do you respond to situations like that? And what's your message to anyone who may be thinking of participating in such a gathering?
So, you know, as I said earlier, it's really, you need to think twice about it. The legal limit for gatherings, for informal gatherings, is, 20. So you need to be cautious and make sure that you are following special measures orders. There's more to think about than just this weekend. There's the rest of the summer to think about. And we've seen what can happen for example, in Nova Scotia when things can get very quickly and very easily, out of control. And we need to, Nova Scotia is doing a fantastic job at getting things back under control, but, things can get out of hand pretty quickly. So we need to make sure that we're all doing our part to stay as safe as possible.
Thank you.
Our next questions are from Peter Jackson with The Telegram. Please go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. How many AstraZeneca doses are about to expire, or do you think may be about to expire? And are there any alternatives being planned to not let them expire?
There are 1,480 doses of AstraZeneca that will expire at the end of the month. It is our intent to make sure those are not wasted. Absent any firm guidance from public health that we can use these appropriately, we will repatriate them to federal supply chains so they can be distributed to other jurisdictions.
And so there is no plan. The original recommended interval for AstraZeneca is 4 weeks. There is some research suggesting 12 weeks. I'm getting a lot of questions from people asking why they simply can't bump up their second dose, because there would certainly be people falling within that 4-week interval by now.
So certainly with the AstraZeneca vaccine, we know that the best response comes at 12 weeks, and that's what we're recommending so that people can get the best response possible out of that vaccine. And so unfortunately that 12 weeks won't be up by the end of this month. So, but we will, hopefully next month, we'll be able to offer second doses to people.
Okay, thank you.
Our next questions are from Patrick Butler with Radio Canada. Please go ahead.
Hi. Question for the Premier, which I wasn't able to get in touch with your Energy Minister, so I have to ask it here to you today. Do you agree with the report released yesterday by the International Energy Agency, which says that we need to immediately abandon all new oil and gas projects and all new exploration, not just in Newfoundland, but all over the world?
Well, I haven't had time to fully read that report just yet, Patrick, but as we've said, Newfoundland and Labrador is uniquely positioned, I believe, in having the ability during this time of transition to really exercise the value of our lower carbon footprint oil and gas while it is still valuable. I don't think, we still have an incredible resource there, and we still need to continue to use it to help finance, frankly, and help us develop the transition to the green economy. And whether that will happen over a series of decades, and I think it would be, frankly, not correct from a fiscal perspective to abandon our incredibly valuable industry right now at this particular moment in time. We know that transition is here. It's amongst us. We're in the midst of it. And we are well positioned as a source of green energy and a source of lower carbon footprint oil and gas for the rest of the world as they transition. So I will provide further comment after I've had more time to fully digest it, but I've just seen the headlines on that report at this point, Patrick.
And just to follow up on that, your government still has a goal of net zero emissions by 2050. The International Energy Agency, of which Canada is a member, says that we're not going to get there if we keep exploring for oil, if we keep exploiting this industry. Is it prudent? Are we going to get to our emissions targets, in your opinion, if we keep going the way we're going?
If we keep using the valuable resource that we have, I believe that we will. I mean, we can't just flick a switch and transition overnight. And I think it's incredibly important as a province that we recognize the value of this incredibly valuable asset currently. Recognizing that it won't always be valuable. So we need to exercise and harvest the value that's out there now and use that position to transition to the green, clean economy, which we have an abundance of right now as well. I do believe that we can, as a province, meet our targets by 2050, no question.
Thank you.
I will now go back through each reporter to see if you have one final question. Elizabeth Whitten with All Newfoundland Labrador. Do you have a final question?
Yes, I do. For more than a year, these COVID briefings have been done virtually, but there have been plenty of press briefings held in person at the Confederation Building in the last few months. So,
the following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.
Hey everyone, it is Jason Piercy, host of Out of the Fog on Tuesday nights at 7:30. You're definitely going to want to watch because you never know what I'm going to get into. It's all about community. It's all about you. So watch Tuesday, 7:30.
Are you a woman experiencing abuse? Do you know a woman experiencing abuse? Help is available any time of day or night. ShelterSafe.ca is an online map that helps you find a women's shelter or transition house that meets your needs so you can live a life free from violence. ShelterSafe.ca. Help is just a click away.
Hello, I'm Lloydetta Quaco. I'm here at the rooms where we just finished recording a Sharing Our Cultures series. This is a place where you get to meet amazing individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds who are making significant contributions to the social, cultural, and economic development of Newfoundland and Labrador.
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rebecca Moyes, and I'm the Regional Program Manager for Arts and Heritage Programs for the Department of Canadian Heritage for the Atlantic Region, and I will be your MC today. Bonjour tout le monde, je m'appelle Rebecca Moyes, je suis la gestionnaire des programmes Art et Patrimoine avec le ministère du Patrimoine canadien pour la région de l'Atlantique, et je suis très fière d'être votre maîtresse de cérémonie aujourd'hui. I'm going to begin with the land acknowledgement.
As a provincial cultural facility, the Rooms respectfully acknowledges the province of Newfoundland and Labrador as the ancestral homelands of many diverse populations of Indigenous peoples who have contributed to 9,000 years of history, including the Beothuk on the island of Newfoundland. Today, this province is home to diverse populations of Indigenous and other people. We would also like to acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of the Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit. We are in some great company today, and isn't it exciting to be out? Yes, it is most exciting to be out. We have the Honourable Seamus O'Regan Jr., Minister of Natural Resources and MP of St. John South Mount Pearl, the Honourable Steve Crocker, Minister of Tourism, Culture, Arts and Recreation for Newfoundland and Labrador, and Anne Chafe, the Chief Executive Officer of the Rooms. I would now like to invite the Honourable Seamus O'Regan to say a few words. And just logistics, we will be switching mics for health and safety reasons, so just a pause.
Different mics for each speaker. As my nan would say, my God, they got it all now. It's great to see everybody. It's just great to see bodies. Never get over it. I mean, you know, politics, it's a people business, right? It's how we derive our energy, is being able to be out there, talk to people, feed off people, the energy for people. No, you know, just another Zoomer. It has been a tough year for all of us in so many different ways. It has challenged us, it has pushed us, it has reminded us of what's important. Keeping our neighbors safe, being a member of a community, sacrificing so many of the normal things that we used to do, and choosing to stay home and distance ourselves so that we can beat COVID-19. It's phenomenal. And the sun is on the horizon. Vaccines are here. Finally got my pre-registration. God almighty, I didn't think I would act the way I did. And we're going to have a lot more vaccines coming. We have hope, I think, that we can soon do the things that we all once cherished, but we just have to hold fast a little longer. When the pandemic was first struck, the federal government had to act really quickly and very decisively, and we did with the wage subsidy and with CERB. We put money directly into the pockets of some 170,000 Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. It helped a lot of workers and businesses right across our tourism sector, and it was purposely aimed at this, at our arts and culture sectors, to allow them to weather the storm. And as we build back better, and we return to lives that resemble some sense of normalcy, it's the arts and cultural spaces that will bring us together. More than just about any other jurisdiction, I'd argue, in this country. We, as Newfoundlanders, look to the arts and look to our culture to share one another's stories. And I, for one, am so looking forward to the conclusions and observations and expressions of our artists of what we have been going through for the past year and a bit. How much that has affected us as a province, as a country, and as a world. And what it says about our individual stories, and what it says about how those individual stories interweave into the community that we are. A community that the rest of the country looks on now with some envy. And as I've always reminded them, even pre-pandemic, they should be envious. It's a great place to live. But when people I knew, like my brother who came over to visit in October, when he took note, he lives in Vancouver Island, where they're about as saintly as they get in this country out there. But the diligence of every Newfoundlander and Labradorian that he came across during his visit home, the strict adherence to social distancing, to mask wearing, without much fuss and bother. I shouldn't call it strict. We just did it. We just did it because that was our obligation as citizens. The Rooms was challenged here, no question about it. But it is cultural organizations like yours that are going to lead the way in finding new and exciting ways to engage. Budget 2021 established a recovery fund for heritage, arts and culture and sports sectors, and we back that with $300 million over the next 2 years. The rooms didn't waste any time pivoting online and connecting us and engaging us with the rooms at home and seeking objects and stories to tell COVID-19 stories to remember the pandemic, like the coffee and culture sessions. You can learn new things from the comfort of your own home, whether it be the moving talk by Dr. Lloydetta Cueco about sharing our cultures, or the talk by Neil Burgess about shipwrecks and nautical history. This is what our cultural spaces do best. This is what the rooms does best. Bring us together. Give us these experiences. Allow us to share those experiences. Teach us about who we are, how to express ourselves through art and dance. I mean, I remember giving a speech once about arts and culture here in the province, and somebody had given a first-hand draft at it, and they said, arts and culture is an essential component of this province. It's not a component. It's who we are. Our arts, our culture is who we are as Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. Which brings me to why we are here today. I am very happy to announce $758,170 in funding to the rooms through the Canada Cultural Spaces Fund. Funding to purchase specialized equipment at the rooms, to continue high-quality professional and educational programming to our community. Our government's been consistently there to support the rooms. We funded the construction of this facility and the renovation of the colonial building and the regional museums. Even in a time long gone by, I gave my wedding speech from that staircase right there. Fine place for weddings. 10 years, still going. This is an investment that will continue to bring wonderful experiences and amazing exhibitions from the rooms to our communities for years to come. And as a founding board member and a very proud board member of the rooms for some 10 years, I am just so happy to be here and to be able to deliver this announcement, because I know, Anne, you're shining through your mask. And ever since you started here, I've made it my objective, Anne, to make you happy. So you're welcome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister O'Regan. Though I'm not sure it's you who's keeping Anne happy, I think it might be us delivering the dollars right to her. Just kidding. Just kidding. Merci beaucoup, Ministre O'Regan. J'invite maintenant l'honorable Steve Crocker, ministre du Tourisme, de la Culture, des Arts et Loisirs du gouvernement de Terre-Neuve-Labrador, de prendre la parole. I would now like to ask the Honourable Steve Crocker, Minister of Tourism, Culture, Arts and Recreation from the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador, to speak.
Thank you, Rebecca. And the mic exchange, if you can just imagine this, if we adopt this at Newfoundland and Labrador weddings, how much time it's going to add. Good afternoon. It's certainly a pleasure to be here this afternoon as the Minister responsible for culture and be a part of this great announcement today. The support announced by Minister O'Regan today from the Department of Canadian Heritage will contribute greatly to keeping the rooms the province's preeminent cultural institution in this pristine condition. Minister O'Regan alluded to, and you can tell his passion, similar to Anne's passion for this facility. He spent 10 years, I think, on the board of the rooms, which was, in its infancy, I guess, and they delivered the product that's here today and the product that we're expanding on today. This is an ever-blooming facility in Newfoundland and Labrador. As it's on the horizon, as you come into the city, whether you're on an airplane, we used to be on those, driving in or coming in on a vessel, it stands out from no matter how you approach the city. The rooms is there standing out. It's an impressive structure, and it houses our provincial museum, art gallery, and archives, making it the repository for many of our valuable cultural collections in this province. It's also a vibrant community hub that plays a fundamental role in creation, study, presentation, and celebration of our great and rich culture. Built on the historic site of Fort Townsend, the rooms is but a stone's throw from several other historic landmarks in St. John's. While the rooms is the youngest of them all, the rooms has quickly become a core feature of the historical quarter. It distinguished in gable roofs, now a part again, as I said earlier, of St. John's beautiful landscape. This support today from our federal colleagues, and I would add continuing support. This is not new support. We've seen this support, and we see the federal support, as Minister O'Regan alluded to, for our industries last year through the early days of the pandemic, and even the most recent commitment to tourism, culture, arts in this province and throughout the country. That commitment is so needed right now, and it'll be so beneficial to so many Canadians. These upgrades today will go a long way in preserving this building and our collections and our collective heritage as we move forward. The Government of Newfoundland and Labrador is very pleased to continue an annual operating grant for the rooms, and so that they can deliver their mandate to preserve and provide access to our unique history and culture. So again, I would like to thank Minister O'Regan, the Government of Canada, for providing this